and this is House of Chatter. It feels like it's been forever. How is everybody? So I'll start off with some personal tea and a little glimpse of my, I guess, par for the course single mama troubles. So, a little history about me. I work in the healthcare field. I have been diagnosed with a chronic illness uh, called fibromyalgia, and it's definitely impacted my ability to work in healthcare. It's hindered my ability to work in hospitals. So I have been off work for 6 months. I thought I was going to lose everything because of my chronic condition, meaning every single thing that I've worked for that had a thing of value that I have invested in over the years, including family properties, different things like that. I just thought I was going to have to sell my entire life and retire, which is really soul shattering and ego shattering and all of those things. But anyways, I thought that I would go and do a last hurrah, and I got a job at hospice, end of life care. And I love end of life care because you actually get to treat everyone and have a therapeutic and very intimate relationship with your patients and their families. And you are providing probably the most important care that a human being can provide in that situation, which is support, which is listening, which is just being in the presence of someone and just hearing their stories. It's being comfortable with the taboo. I see you go. Hospice care is rough as hell. It takes a special empathy to deal with that. It does, but I absolutely love end of life care. And it's long hours. I will tell you, I think I saw 3 patients today, started at 9, didn't get home until like 7:30. So, and the majority of that was just listening to patient stories. And this has to do with the Blake Lively lawsuit as far as context. And I'll tell you in a second what I think Blake is lacking. So, in the Blake Lively lawsuit, she is, I guess, maybe getting offended and taking things out of context. For example, she might have been offended when Justin Baldoni was talking about his pornography addiction and experience with that, right? She might have been offended by being shown a birthing video. She might, I don't know, may have been offended with the word sexy. But what is the context? What is the situation? And that is really important. What is the situation that Blake is being offended in, and is that rational for the situation? Now, let me tell you about my day, and I will tell you it got very uncomfortable. I did say I was offended. I did say I was a prude. I did say, wow, oh my gosh. I made a series of statements. I was in the presence of 2 males, one my age with I believe 2 boys. Another was in his 60s. Um, I guess you can say openly gay is how he would describe himself or how he introduced himself to me. There was a female also in her 60s, and there was a comatose patient in the room. So, for context, I'm there to provide end of life support. Okay. I'm there to educate. I am there to answer questions. I am there to listen, and so I'm in my second week, right, of orientation. So now I'm shadowing the hospice nurses and they're showing me how to do things and chart things and whatever. And I have previous hospice experience. So I kind of just need to know how to order things. Um, but, anyways, so I'm there. The patient is moving around in the bed, and the daughter says something that in the ordinary world would have been highly inappropriate. um, she was like, wow, mom is really moving down there. And she said it in a way that I was surprised, and I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I said, wait, what? What do you mean? Because I was confused. And the conversation quickly went sideways when the daughter went further into detail. And I said, oh my gosh, okay, well, she might be terminally restless. We can get her some medication, just trying to educate. Because now things are getting a little uncomfortable for me, but maybe not uncomfortable for anybody else. Patients' families say some really off the wall things and some unexpected things, and you need to develop tough skin. So somehow the conversation veered off course, driven by the patient's family member. And it became personal at the end. Okay, now mind you, we're in a room and the patient can still hear you. So mind you, the patient can clearly hear everything that is going on. So then everything turns to whispers once I remind everybody the patient can still hear us, because hearing is the last sense that you lose before you pass. So patient's daughter is very open about her mom and the beliefs and all that stuff. More open than I would be. And that's why I had told the daughter, wow, I'm a prude, I'm sorry, as a hint that the conversation was getting too steamy. However, the conversation was driven by the patient's daughter. So she didn't pick up on the context clues. Just reading this from Gelf, that still makes me cringe because she used cardboard. Her daughter was in the room and I had to clean my mother. Oh. So, anyways, context. By the end of it, everybody was laughing and I was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Everybody was laughing, but we're all adults. Again, this conversation is driven by the patient's daughter, the patient's daughter's openness about what her mom had said to her. And yeah, I went home and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I heard that conversation. That was really inappropriate. Why would someone suggest something that involves batteries in front of 2 men? I can't believe that. And I went home and I thought about it because my drive was like 30 minutes. And the situation involved someone who was my preceptor. So he's in a position of power. So, right, because he's going to tell me if I passed or failed. And I was like, oh, if it was Blake Lively, that guy would have already been sued. However, we were all talking about the patient, and the conversation evolved, and the conversation kind of cooled, and we were able to conclude it, and it stopped, and it was fine because the follow-up conversation with my preceptor didn't involve any elements of the previous uncomfortable conversation I had just had. But with Blake Lively, she assumes that the offensive behavior or the same offensive behavior repeated itself. Now, if I hear my preceptor talk about batteries, I might feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to say something and be like, yeah, that was a very uncomfortable conversation. I'm glad we supported the family. I'm glad that we left them or her happier than when we found her, because that's our job, is to support the family. But you don't have to bring up batteries to me. And if you do it again, I will report you. That would probably be the proper HR procedures. Gelt says preceptor has probably seen or heard worse. Some of the weirdest crap happens in nursing homes and palliative care, especially when they have that lucid spark and it starts fading again. I will totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. I've heard stories that example, I've heard a patient tell me that he saw an alien spaceship crash into a telephone pole one night when he was walking out with his wife. And the next day, there wasn't any damage and the telephone pole was intact. And he's never told anybody that story before because they thought people would think he was crazy, but he said it and he was 86 and he was going home the next day. Amy, scroll up and read the post I dropped earlier. Okay. Let's see. Gelthbacher. I can still remember the first person to die on me in a nursing home. His room had been under my care for weeks. Then on a day off, he died. It shattered me. Aww. I always loved the patient's story. I would rather spend my lunches with patients and even relatives listening to stories. I actually got into trouble for doing so, even though it's my time to waste. Oh, Gal, that is beautiful. Haley84, I miss being a CNA. I love my CNAs. Love my CNAs. Hey, Khaleesi. Anyways, so that's my HR story for you guys. What would have you done in that situation? Because I like my preceptor. I don't want to get him in trouble. I respect him. I think he's a good, end of life nurse. And the situation, the conversation was probably appropriate for the situation, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, has anybody heard the new rumors from the Blake Lively lawsuit? Because I know that's why you guys came here. You guys didn't want to listen to my stories. You wanted to know the new Blake Lively tea. Okay. So the big new, I guess, theory or gossip or whatever is that if Jones Works like loses their case, they're gonna say that Ryan Reynolds threatened Stephanie Jones's husband, who is Jason Rhodes, I believe, at WME. That is the new rumor that Without a Crystal Ball had mentioned. I will call it a rumor. I think she's the first to say that. But what do you, Jason Rhodes? Yes, Jesse and Max. Jason Rhodes. So what if Ryan Reynolds threatened Jason Rhodes at WME? Yes, Without a Crystal Ball covered it. She got it first. So do you think that's plausible? That Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds would threaten a specific WME employee? Second, speaking of WME, there was a text message thread between Ryan Reynolds and, was it Warren Zavala? And it had mentioned, and this is dated, I think, 8/17, somewhere between, I want to say 8/14 and 8/17, okay? And, oh, sorry, my kids are going crazy and got distracted. So there was a text message that said that they wanted Sony to put out a statement that it was like something like bots or something having to do with the fact that Justin Baldoni had hired Melissa Nathan and they're using bots or whatever as a smear campaign, right? And that it amplified. The issue is that they think that bots amplified the GPS location share interview answer. That was their biggest gripe. And he, I guess, was asking Warren to ask Sony to have them put out a statement basically saying it was a bot smear campaign. The response from Warren was they could not do that due to legal. Now, I was like, why is he talking about legal? The reason why they're talking about legal and that they don't think it was a bot campaign is because Sony had their own internal, I want to say customer service surveys, but they had their own internal, gosh, guys, help me out. I'm tired and my brain's like half asleep. Surveys that they were doing. Okay. So in them, it said that Justin Baldoni had I want to comfortably say 79%. Jesse and Max, if you're out there, I think it's 79% maybe. Pro Justin, and then pro Blake was low teens or something like that, and then neutral was under 10. I'm guesstimating, those aren't exact, but Justin Baldoni significantly scored higher in Sony's own research based off of it. It ends with us. So maybe that's why they couldn't come out and say, oh, it was a bot farm. Because Sony knew it was not a bot farm and knew that the backlash was organic. So Sony knew from their own internal marketing research that it was pro-Justin all the way through, right? On the audience side. You can see that on Blake Lively's own Betty Buzz and Betty Boo's social media in September. And then you can also see that from Wayfair's side, when Wayfair is raising the alarm about, hey, like the social media. 89% pro Justin, 4% pro Blake, and the rest was neutral. Thanks, Jesse. Everybody, check out assholemedia.com. It is the most amazing website ever. And totally thank you for supporting me and this channel, Jesse and Max. If I had internet, this would be a different show. I would be going over the timeline. So thank you for your help. So if Sony knew that, Wayfair knew that, Betty Buzz learned that, you know, how is there a smear campaign? There wasn't. So Sony legally couldn't even say there was a smear campaign. I wonder if anyone will pay Ryan to read to their kids. Well, Nick Jr. apparently bought bedtime stories, and I think we went over to the IMDb. So he's going to have bedtime stories for 2 weeks on the Nick Jr. channel, I believe starting at the beginning of March. I don't know if that's going to be successful. I am thinking the same people. I mean, I just think that there's this internal backlash that who's going to want to watch that? Like, I don't know if there's a market for Ryan Reynolds anymore. And I think that's been made pretty clear by the fact that no one asked for Blake Lively. Galt says, I want voices that engage me, not Ryan's crap voice. I actually watched Samuel Jackson read Go the Fluff to Sleep. That needs to be more of. I love that book. Let's see, what other tea did I have? Oh, did I pause you guys? Darn it. There you go. What else was I going to cover? I think that was it. Oh, Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds is selling shares of Wrexham now. So maybe Ryan Reynolds is running out of money. Maybe he thought that he could get a quick buck, and that's wrong. Maybe they sued. I want to think. Didn't Ryan Reynolds mention suing Justin Baldoni in May with Matt Damon? I'm just thinking of something. Maybe they were planning on suing Justin Baldoni since May of 2024. Or maybe they even threatened Sony, and that rumor is true. Haley84, I would love Snoop Dogg to read to me. That would be pretty sweet. Why would Matt Damon? No, I think Ryan Reynolds in a text message with Matt Damon and Lucy Damon mentioned that he was surprised that he hasn't been sued yet. And I'm wondering if they were planning on suing Justin Baldoni in May. And it just came to a head in August. Because I'm kind of thinking that maybe by 8/21, they're already looking for someone to sue at that point because of the reputational damage. Now, we know Ryan Reynolds is the face of all of his brands, and I think there might be some pressure from his brands because of the reputation that Blake had. Also, part of me thinks that maybe Ryan Reynolds doesn't realize how difficult his wife is. I don't know. Also, did anybody... Oh, I wish I had like a little green screen. Oh, I wonder if I could do a green screen. No. No, I can't do a green screen. But anyway, there was an interesting text message too that Blake Lively had with Lewis. It was they were talking about, and this was dated 4/25, I believe, of 2023, which is the day that they that Justin got yelled at for fat shaming. Apparently, that conversation went on for 3 hours, and I didn't realize the length. So they literally yelled at him for 3 hours. And by April of 2023, Blake Lively was already telling people that she already had, or already, had a big piece of those of the movie. So maybe we'll find out that maybe she might have, like, allegedly, maybe she could have grifted some more people into the mix. To be careful about my words, because I really want to say the B word. Gelf brought up a good point. That text message then should be brought before Lyman and shows Ryan's culpability for his crimes, and Justin had a case. Someone did say apparently RDJ is pressuring Disney to drop Ryan from the Avengers movie and going forward. Oh. Yeah, I don't think I want to see Ryan Reynolds in a Deadpool movie. I mean, do we really think anybody's going to go see that at this point? So I don't think anyone... I don't know. Maybe Ryan Reynolds is done. Maybe Sony is the one that says, yeah, Blake's done, Ryan's done. Another interesting thing is, and I'm going to say this part, I do have a soft spot for Blake in this instance. Because when they obviously believed that there was a smear campaign, she actively believed that. And she was so tore up that she got this backlash. And not only she got this backlash, she got abandoned. Ryan Reynolds was asking Warren Zavala for assistance. He wanted the cast to go on record to help Blake Lively after Wayfair refused to go on record. So everybody can go on record except for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Right? And then Ryan Reynolds says, not even Alex Sachs is willing to go for bat for Blake. No. None of the department heads, none of the producer people who gave those letters, none of them backed Blake Lively. The people to support a PGA credit weren't there for her. The cast, I can say, what, Brandon Sklenar said something. But, you know, they had nobody in the end. And yeah, I really thought that the whole canceling of Saturday Night Live was a false. But it does turn out that Blake Lively was so hurt that not even her own agent could tell her that there was an offer for Saturday Night Live. And not only that, her own husband did not have the hot dogs to tell his wife that Saturday Night Live was offering her a hosting gig. So what did they do? They ran to Leslie Sloan so that Leslie Sloan can tell Blake Lively. So isn't that weird? Blake Lively's own agent couldn't even tell her about Saturday Night Live. Now, am I wrong about hosting? Jesse and Max double check this. Am I wrong about hosting? She was supposed to host, but she backed out of it? Or is it Saturday Night Live said, no, bueno, you're out of here? Jesse Max, I mean, I wonder if Lyman would see the evidence and be like, damn, I was wrong, and there's malice, and then come out of the blue and be like, never mind. SNL offered her. So she was so distraught that she turned down Saturday Night Live. So really, her last acting gig would have been Saturday Night Live. And she turned it down. But if you see at the 50th anniversary, I don't think she knew about that joke. Because her face was of genuine surprise. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. That's my tea. Still struggling, doing the single mom hustle. My kid lost my kids. I can tell you that. It sucked. Kid lost my kids. I had to get called home. I was the neighborhood spectacle. And it was a lot of fun. But it's par for the course. That's just my luck. Gail says, if you turn down SNL, don't they have a rule they won't invite you back? I have no idea. Someone will have to research that. All right, guys, I will see you later. Gelf, I may be on in an hour. Kind of depends on my kids. I'll check in with you 10:15-ish. And everybody have a good night. Jesse and Max, thank you. I hope to fix my internet. And then we'll do the timeline. Yeah, so I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you want to know or hear next. Bye, guys.